Welcome back to the Paperback Podcast, and it is Banned Books Week. Well, it was Banned Books Week. I'm a little late to the thing, but I want to talk about this book anyway. The book is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Now, this book was banned in a lot of American schools, and so a couple of weeks ago, our English teacher told us we'll be taking part in this Banned Books Week. Um, And she told us we could either do a presentation about a banned book and defend it or like do other stuff like decorations and stuff. So she showed us a list of the books that were banned, and I was surprised to see that The Perks of Being a Wallflower was on there because I personally didn't find it that like controversial or problematic or whatever. So I said I was going to do The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I did. I did a presentation at school, and I also thought I might as well do a video about this because why not? It's like right after Banned Books Week, so I also really like this book. It's probably one of my favorite books, even though it's a very basic plot. I don't know. I like the way it was written, and I really like the plot development. But anyways, today it's like a little bit different from the other videos, but I want to talk about why I don't think it should be banned and yeah. So first of all, I'm going to summarize to you what the book is about. The book is so it's by Stephen Chbosky. I definitely butchered that. But yeah, so he wrote this book in 1999. It was published in 1999, right? So it's kind of old, I guess you could say. And it's set in the early 90s, and it's about Charlie, who's 15, and he's very introverted, and he's starting high school, right? And the entire book just details his experiences in adolescence, right? It has topics like drugs, sexuality, mental health, all that stuff. All that teenager stuff, right? And it's also about love, all that stuff. It's just a bunch of like teenager experiences, right? So that's basically it's a very basic plot. So it surprised me that I love this book so much because for me personally the book has to have a sort of um like more complex plot, right? But this was a very basic plot, and I was like and I still really enjoyed the book. And I'm not sure why. Like, I don't know. I love the way it was written. Um, and I think it just has some really beautiful parts in it as well. I was surprised when I found that this book was banned in so many schools because when I read it, I thought this is fine. I was just very surprised that people thought that this book was so inappropriate, right? So I did some research and I found that people it was actually on the American Library Association's list of 10 most frequently challenged books. So, man, people complain about this book a lot, right? And I did some digging, and apparently they think that the content is sexually explicit and there's drugs and it's anti-family and it's like there's like LGBTQ content and there's like pornographic content. There really isn't. But Jojo, my dog's here. We have a very special guest on the podcast today. We've got my dog. My microphone fell again. Jojo, say hi. You are the first official guest on the podcast. She's not interested. So, parents really had a problem with this book, right? And what else did they complain about? Alcohol, drugs, nudity, offensive language. So they didn't want this book to be read in schools, right? Which I totally get if you're talking about grades below like 10th grade. I don't know if parents realize this, But all of these topics that you're complaining about, this is what teenagers deal with, you know? And I hate to be the one to break this to you, but compared to what teenagers are saying and doing nowadays, this is like the Bible. Okay, this is like the Holy Bible. It's nothing compared to like what everyone's doing nowadays, right? Um, and as someone who's read the book, the content really is not as like sexually explicit as you might think. It's nothing. This is not, they like describe like the beginning of something and then they just go to like the next scene, right? It's not like full on smut. Like y'all gotta chill. This is nothing. Like nothing like parents are like I feel like people are really over exaggerating when they're complaining about this book. Also, like the LGBTQ content is like it's like one character who's like gay, bro. That's it. And also, again, for all the parents, um, drugs, alcohol, parties, like relationships, and offensive language. This is all that. This is all like stuff that teenagers deal with. This book will like the purpose of this book is for teenagers to read it and be able to relate, right? Uh, Listen, people are not trying to read this to fourth graders. This is a book that was made for teenagers. And I feel like if you're that ignorant to these like the fact that teenagers are dealing with these kind of topics and you're just saying like, "Oh, but we shouldn't read this in schools." What is a school's purpose? Education, right? They're shaping us for our future, apparently. And I feel like that shouldn't be just academic. It should include all parts of life, you know? Not just academic. We're in school so much of our lives. Like, it's insane. I'm there for like 8 hours a day. Like, it's crazy, okay? Like, you're spending like what? A quarter of your life there? No, that can't be right. Hold on. I can't do math. I don't know. The point is, you spend a lot of time there, right? 12 years and also university and like 8 hours a day. It's crazy, right? You're spending a lot of time there. And if schools aren't allowed to teach you, like if they have to just, if their education is restricted to just academia, what the hell is the point of going there? What the hell are they supposed to be teaching us? I mean, sure, academic stuff as well, but they should also be teaching us about life, which is why I also think that we should be teaching like taxes and stuff in school, and I still don't understand why that's not a thing. But if we eliminate reading these kind of books that talk about mental health and talk about things that teenagers have to deal with, then we're just like completely ignoring the fact that teenagers deal with this stuff and we're just kind of making it like a taboo thing. And then, teenagers won't want to ask for help. They won't want to ask for help with their problems. They won't know how to deal with things, right? So, like, come on, people. That's one of the reasons why I think it shouldn't be banned, right? Which brings me on to the next thing, why it shouldn't be banned and why I think this book is important. Like I just said, this book it's like it discusses a lot of important teenager topics. And I feel like you have to be really dumb if you think that teenagers don't deal with this kind of stuff every day. Okay? Second of all, the content not as explicit as you might think. Read this book and it's like fine. Okay, it's fine. Like you're not gonna be traumatized. You're not gonna want to bleach your eyes and never read again. It's fine. And also, I feel like people are very much overlooking the meaning of this book just because it has like a couple drugs and a couple sex. A couple sex? A couple of sex scenes. Ugh, the words are not wording. Okay. Like let me read to you one of the explicit drug usage scenes. Okay. Warning, extremely explicit content. I looked around and I saw that Sam and Patrick had left with Brad. That's when Bob started passing around food. Would you like a brownie? Yes, thank you. I was actually quite hungry because normally Sam and Patrick take me to the big boy after the football games, and I guess I was just used to it by now. I ate the brownie and it tasted a little weird, but it was still a brownie, so I still liked it. But this was not an ordinary brownie. Since you're older, I think you know what kind of brownie it was. So obviously, he's talking about how his friend got him an edible. Do you know what your kids are doing if you're complaining about this? Don't look through your kids' rooms. Okay, don't because brother. This is what you're complaining about? Oh my god. No. No. It's really not that bad. It's not that bad. Like I don't understand. People are completely overlooking the meaning about this book, right? It's not just about drugs and sex. It's about adolescence and it's about what it's really like to be a teenager and the importance of having good friendships, good friendships at that time of your life and becoming a better person, learning how to become an adult, making mistakes, all that stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, in your teenage years, that is the kind of shit you learn, right? And the kind of stuff that you have to deal with. You're slowly becoming an adult, right? And you're doing all this dumb, crazy stuff, and you're learning about people and relationships and how to act in friendships and relationships, and you learn more about people. That's what this book is about. It's not about kids go do drugs and have sex without a condom. No. It's not that. It is crazy to me that people think that. Like they immediately when one scene like that comes up, they immediately think that that's like the whole purpose of the book, right? It's not. It's not. It really really isn't, okay? Yes. Also, there are some darker topics, right? Like no spoilers, but Charlie does have a very traumatic experience and I feel like his like experience like I totally didn't expect it. Like at the same time the book is really it has a really basic plot, but somehow it's also not like anything I've ever read before, right? Like his like traumatic experience is so like I was like shocked. I was just something like that isn't talked about in media a lot, right? Especially with men. I think this book was way ahead of its time talking about men's mental health, right? Which why I think this book is also very important because nowadays Jesus Christ, like the suicide rates like 60% are male. This is because we don't talk about men's mental health a lot, right? And we should because what makes like why do we completely neglect men's mental health, right? Like they're also humans, you know, they also have things going on in their brain. Not only women have problems, also men, right? And it really shocked me that this book was written in like what the 90s and it talked about like these kind of topics and uh that's why I also think the book is really important because not enough media is about men's mental health, right? I feel like um they don't really explore the darker topics, right? That like men have to deal with. So I don't think it should be banned. It's a very important book. even though it has like a basic plot, it's like still like it's still complex. Like it's so weird to me how like a book with such a basic plot can still be so like interesting and complex, you know? But I would definitely recommend this book. Um it's pretty short. I read this in like a day and a half, okay? I mean, like, look at that. This is like what, 150 pages? No, 180 pages. Nothing. This is if you're starting, like if you're new reading, like if you're just starting to read, this book is very easy to read. It's very easy to follow. Like it doesn't use complex vocabulary. Okay? And I think the characters are extremely realistic. I mean, like, my god, these are definitely teenagers, you know. So, I definitely would recommend this book. I think it's like the kind of book that could like really get you into reading. Like it could be that book, you know. So I would recommend it. I don't think it should be banned. I don't understand why it was banned in so many schools. Um but yeah, overall very good book. I mean, definitely one of my top 5 whatever. I didn't expect to like this book so much because the first time I picked this up actually, I read like a couple pages and I was like, I don't like it. But then I read it for a second. Like I read, like I just like I put it down. I was like, you know what, I'll try again later. And you know what? It worked. Worked. I mean, I loved it. I loved it. I sat there for like this, like on the bus, and I was like just like reading like constantly because it was so good. But yeah, overall, very enjoyable book, and you don't have to use 100% of your brain to read this. I mean, like, you know, I would have loved this if I mean, I would have loved if this was like the first book I ever read. I would love to read this for the first time again. You know, that's like the kind of book this is. So yeah, um, that was my video to banned books week, and I feel like it's one of the few books on the banned books list that I feel like shouldn't be banned because I mean some of them you really shouldn't be reading in schools. Like Jesus Christ. I mean, I understand why people would not want to read that in schools, but this is one of the few that I think really shouldn't be banned, especially in schools. And just keep it for like 10th graders, 11th graders, and 12th graders. Below that, I feel like it's a bit inappropriate, but don't ban it overall. So that was the 4th episode of the Paperback Podcast. And if you have any ideas of books you want me to review, go ahead and comment. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. It's the 4th episode. And yeah, overall I've been like so far I've been really enjoying making this podcast. Like I film a podcast episode, I'm like, wow, I want to do like another one like immediately, right? But yeah, hope you enjoyed this because I did. And yeah, I'll see you next time.